Israel to be exact, right? And so, without further ado, man, let's jump straight into it. Today's part on becoming a man on this little series um, that we're embarking on here. We're going to be talking about temperance, if you can see it in the title, right? Temperance, becoming a man, right? It requires you to have some level of temperance, right? Really a high level of temperance as well, right? So let me go ahead and share my screen. And another word for temperance is just self-control, right? At its very elementary state, self-control, right? This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, and verse number 1. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven, right? So there's a place for everything, right? Especially when it comes to your emotions, right? Let's see. We're gonna keep reading real quick. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up that which is planted, right? Um, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up, right? And breaking down and building up can often be with our words as well, right? There's a time to where you've ran out of patience, and it might be expedient to break somebody down with your words, right? And then a lot of times it's time to build up with our words too. We got to understand there's power in our tongue. And with that being said, um, literally right before it says to kill and to heal, pretty much synonymous with break down and to build up, right? Um, and of course I was talking about words, but even with our actions, man, some people are, especially nowadays, we have young men in the world that who their favorite rappers might be NBA Young Boy or Chief Keef, you know, 21 Savage, man. And that's what's raising our young men nowadays, right? And so whenever we get any type of bothered, right, we always resort to killing or harming our brothers and our sisters, man, versus coming to a place where we can come to a healing moment or a building up of a moment, right? Let's see here. Let's go here, right? Let's go here. And I did have a preset pop in my head, and I think I know where it is, but we're gonna get there later, right? First, let's pull this up really quick in Galatians chapter 5 and verse 22. All right. How many of y'all know about the fruits of the spirit, right? Can't type. There's man. Till the right time. Sorry about that, Salakia. I think I got songs, man. Not exactly what I was looking for, but maybe we'll find it later, right? But Galatians 5 and 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long suffering, right? First of all, man, let's examine these first ones, love and joy, right? Of course, we know loving is correcting, um, but part of that being having a spirit is always being at a place where you have joy, right, and peace of mind, right? um Long suffering, we got to be long suffering. That's one thing that we fail to be as young men nowadays, is long suffering. We have no patience for nothing, right? Especially living in a microwave society that we live in today. But when it comes to our emotions, man, we're not long suffering. That's why we're filling up the prisons at a rate that we are today, right? If we could be just long suffering, not just even with ourselves, but in expedient moments, like when you get pulled over by the police, right? Um, instead of getting triggered by little things, man, that allow us to go off and to rail at the mouth, to get us to put us in bad positions, right? We need to practice long suffering, gentleness, right? Gentleness. A lot of us men, we have to practice gentleness. And when you think about it, man, that's a lot of the reasons why he says husbandry is ordained, right? And I know he's speaking about when he says husbandry, he's not talking about a man and a woman, um, but he's also talking about livestock and gardens and stuff like that, or just raising up domesticated animals in general. Even if you have a dog, if you have sheep, goats, cows, if you have horses, man, even when we go to if you have a daughter, right? Not only that, even in the sense of a husband, an actual husband and an actual wife, right? You have a wife, right? This is the things that he puts in your life to teach you lessons, right? And one of those main lessons is to be gentle, right? To have a sense of gentleness and long suffering, right? Not so much for your wife in this aspect, but for the animals and for your children. These are creations that don't really know how to govern themselves or take care of themselves, right? And it takes a level of long suffering and gentleness, right? And goodness to be able to cultivate an environment that's conducive for them, something that works, right? Something that isn't going to traumatize them, right? Because a lot of them can't care for themselves, right? Really can't even think for themselves for real, right? And so a lot of those things, that's why he says husbandry is ordained, man, because at the same time he does the same thing, right? We went over last video how we're made in God's image. God, of course, gets upset, and he does let his judgment be shown, but he's also long suffering with us as well. He looks at us as his sheep, right? A dumb animal, right? That can't take care of itself or provide for itself, right? And with him being that, he understands the care that he has to take for us. Yes, when you have a dog or if you have a puppy, they're gonna get on your nerves, right? You might want to slap them upside the head or kick them or something like that. But that's where it comes into play, that gentleness and that long suffering, understanding who or what you're dealing with, right? Same thing with children, right? Sometimes it's the same thing with between a husband and a wife, right? um, and we got to have that long suffering and that gentleness to understand where we at, what's the magnitude of the situation, right? And how can we stay in the fruits of the spirit. Let me see something here, and that's going to lead me to one of my next precepts. Actually, we're gonna and I actually skipped it, so it's going to be perfect. We're going to go to Ephesians, right? Ephesians, where you at? Ephesians chapter 4, Slacky, and verse number 26. And of course, man, like last video, of course this is tailored to men, but man, there's double to that, which is, and so women take heed as well. Ephesians 4 and 26, it says, "Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath," right? Meaning, even because we got to understand, since we're made in his image, we have a lot of the same characteristics and traits, right? And so even with us getting angry, because it's going to happen, it says to sin not, right? You can be mad all you want to, but you better not go out your way and harm one of your brothers and sisters. You better not go out your way and in your anger, right? You steal from somebody, you destroy their property, right? You I don't know, you take it out on their loved ones or something like that, right? We have to be angry, and when we're angry, we have to, and that's the crazy part, man. So you can have emotion to where you're angry. You can have emotion to where you're jealous. You can even have emotion where you're lustful. But one thing you always have to do when you're in your emotions, you have to be able to decipher or have a wherewithal of these law, statutes, commandments at all times, right? That's why it tells you not to live the life of a drunkard, because if you're always inebriated, if you're always intoxicated, there's no way you can make the proper decisions all the time, and you need to make the proper decisions more time than not, right? But it says, "Be ye angry and sin not; let not the sun go down upon your wrath." There's an old proverb between a man and a woman, right? All the older generations will tell you, "Hey, look, man, if you ever get into an argument with your wife, or if you get into an argument with your husband, right? Um, Always fix it before y'all go to sleep." You know what I'm saying? Don't ever go to sleep angry at each other. And it's the same thing the Most High is telling us, right? You can be angry all you want to, but by the time that sun goes down, really means by the time, you're ready to lay it down and end your day, you need to be over it, right? Don't hold no grudge. Don't be angry all night. In other various places in the Bible, it'll tell you that anger, man, and just in general, stress is oftentimes a quick killer, man. You know, but it says, "Be angry, sin not, let not the sun go down upon your wrath," man. Don't let it fester. Don't let it, linger, because that's when it gets 10 times worse, right? That's when you start making decisions out of emotion, right? Let's go to, I like this one. Let's go to Matthew 5:39. All right. And I actually had these in order, but I'm going all types of out of order. But I think I like the direction it's going in. So, um, Matthew chapter 5 and verse 39. "But I say unto you that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other cheek." Meaning, hey man, you might get into, and I was talking to a coworker about this last night, right? You might get into an argument with somebody, a brother or sister. A lot of times the elderly, right? Somebody that's older, and you might get offended in conversation, right? It doesn't always have to be physical violence, but even when it's physical violence, right? You have to understand how to control yourself and when to walk away, right? Is it worth it? Right. Now, I'm not saying not to be a man and stand your ground, stand for what you believe in. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying not to do those things. I'm not saying, hey, look, man, if somebody is messing with any of your loved ones, not to stick up for them. Right. I'm not saying to teach not to stick up for them. Right. One thing about it, when you read this Bible, you don't want to take it some of these things too extreme, too literal. Right. But what you want to get out of it is the fact that the wherewithal of having the wisdom to know when to do something and when not to. That's why I brought up that precept at the beginning. There's a time and place for everything under the sun, right? It says that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. Meaning, don't be easily offended, man. Right? Be able to roll with the punches. Be able to take you in a conversation. Be able to take some low blows and not get angry. Right? Still be have a cordial Don't let you be the one looking like the one that is easily bothered or triggered. You always, as a man, you what am I trying to say? What is the phrase I want? You dictate how the conversation should go, right? Always have the ball in your court to where you can, you know, um, what is the? I'm thinking of a word that's not coming to my mind, man. But so that you can, dictate the narrative of the situation, right? Keep on reading, verse 40. "And if any man will sue thee at the law and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also." Man, sometimes you just gotta let go, man. Sometimes you gotta let them have it, right? You gotta let them have it sometimes, right? Without being mad and saying something that you're gonna regret. Come on. Let's go to I'll say those last two for later. What we're gonna go is to the book of Ecclesiasticus, right? Let's go to the Apocrypha really quick. Ecclesiasticus, also known as the book of Sirach. And we're gonna go to chapter 11, and we're gonna start at verse 7. Right. All righty. Right. This is important for men to do. Blame not before Thou hast examined the truth, understand first, and then rebuke. This is a very classic precept. It's a staple, man. Every man should learn how to do this, right? To blame not before thou has examined the truth, which essentially is saying, hey, look, man, don't speak too fast, right? Don't make a statement too fast without you examining the situation. Because oftentimes is, man, you might think somebody means something that they don't mean. And by the time you understand what they do mean, you done said something that puts you in a spot where you can't back down now you feel like you can't apologize, and now you got to stand 10 toes on the bad take that you took, right? And oftentimes with that, it leads to bad situations, right? It says understand first and then rebuke, because you never know, you might agree with the person, or you might think somebody had ill intentions or ill will towards you, and come to find out they didn't, right? You guys ever been in a conversation where you think you're arguing with somebody, but the person on the other side is, no, bro, not like that. I'm on your side. This is what I'm saying, and you start getting mad at them, and that just comes from emotion. A lot of times that comes from thinking about stuff in your own head, right? A lot of brothers do this on the street too. When we have our conversations, right? We what we do is, oftentimes, a lot of us, when we teach, we already have a narrative in our mind of how the conversation is going to go, what we expect the person to say, and when they say something different, it catches us off guard, right? And a lot of times, just even in regular conversations, man, you might be talking to somebody at work or something like that, and you expect them to respond one way, and they respond another way, and you ultimately think they're against you, and they're saying, "Hold, what? Nah, bro, nah. I'm on your side. Like I'm actually, trying to support what you're saying. I'm actually in defense of you, right?" And that happens a lot, and a lot of times that is just because we don't have any self control. We can't slow situations down to where we can, okay, let me examine everything first. Let me examine everything that's coming out this man or woman's mouth, before I react. And that's one thing as men we have to be able to do. That is the difference really between a man and a woman, especially when you come into a union with each other, right? The woman is also, a lot of times, more emotional than not, and that comes to be with her nurturing nature. As a man, we're supposed to be more logical, meaning that we're supposed to be doing exactly as the scripture says, right? Examining everything and coming up with the logical responses, being solution minded, right? Not problematic minded, but solution based minded, right? I want to go to Proverbs, right? Let's go to Proverbs 17 and 27. Man, Proverbs 17. Slack, yeah, and 27. Went to Proverbs 27. Alrighty. Uh, it's not exactly what I wanted, but let's see. He that has knowledge spareth his words, and a man of understanding is of excellent spirit, right? Saying that somebody that has wisdom, man, they know when to speak, they know when not to speak, right? Um, even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise, and he that shutteth his lips is esteemed of a man of understanding. Because a lot of times it don't take much, man. A lot of times, if you don't agree with something, a lot of times all you have to do is not say anything, right? And walk away. A lot of times the person will come back to you and they'll be like, "Hey, man, I was thinking, and I actually agree with what you were saying, right? I see how I was wrong, right?" A lot of times it don't take much. A lot of times, it's better for you to hold your peace and let somebody figure out on their own, because some people out there, man, you can't tell them nothing, right? We've all talked to those type of people where you can't tell them nothing, right? And a lot of times they have to figure out on their own. And so it's almost better for you not to even tell them, because if you tell them, they're probably going to do the opposite anyway, right? Or they're just going to keep warring within themselves to not agree with you, even though you're right, and they're not allowing themselves to see that you are correct, right? So having that temperance, in those situations as well, um, And this one's gonna be short too, man. We only got about two more precepts. These last two are definitely geared towards men, right? Let's see. Which one do I want first? They're both kind of bangers. I ain't gonna lie. I think I'm gonna end off with that one. I'm gonna go to this one next. Let's go to Colossians, right? For all of you men that have wives, right? We're gonna go to Colossians 3 and 19. For all the men that have wives, this is something you need to take heed of, right? It says, Colossians 3 and 19, husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them, right? I love this precept, man, because, through the spirit and power of the Most High God, he has placed it on Paul to let us know, right? First and foremost, your wives probably will, at some point make you want to be bitter against them, right? Not intentionally. Sometimes we do have women that do it intentionally, but just the way they react emotionally, they're nurturing their, as the Bible says, they're the weaker vessel when it comes to their emotions, right? And just their whole anatomy, right? It can cause a logical man or a what can I say, a poised man to get out of character, right? And I love the fact where he says, husbands, hey, love your wives and be not bitter against them, letting us know there's gonna be times where we're gonna want to be bitter, right? But as a man, as a husband, this is what we look for, right? When we look for, and when you even look for somebody that's gonna be wants to marry your daughter, right? Make sure you examine them when they're butting heads, right? When your daughter is being a butthole, right? How does he treat her, or how does he treat just other people in general in those situations, right? To love them and not be bitter against them. You got to weigh out your options, man. Is it worth it to get mad because this person doesn't understand, right? Is of course it's frustrating for the other person that don't understand, right? And that you have the wherewithal of knowing, probably whatever you're trying to tell them. Um, it's not profitable for you to get mad be- at them because they're frustrated and they're showing their emotion, right? I guarantee you, a lot of times if you just take it cool, you relax, you're calm, right? That's going to convey the confidence of the information that you're trying to convey to them at the end of the day, right? And they're going to be able to see that and recognize that, and understand that, man. It's like, it's I mean, it's simple like this, man. If you ever talk to somebody that just lied a lot, man, and just picked up on their body language and stuff like that, they talk fast, they're antsy, right? Somebody that's calm, cool, and collected usually are more trustworthy people, and they probably know what they're talking about, right? Your professors, your teachers, some basketball coaches, man. Usually, when people know what they're talking about, right, and they don't have what they call insecurities, they're calm, they're cool, they're collected, even when other people are riled up, right? Even when we go on the street, we know what we're talking about, guys, right? For the teachers out there, and even for women, if you're trying to convey this truth to your friends and family, right? You know the truth, right? The Bible says that this truth, this doctrine, will not even be gainsayed. He's going to give us a word that won't even be gainsayed by anybody, meaning that nobody can come against it, nor will it contradict itself, nor can anybody contradict what we're saying if we're teaching this truth. You know that, right? You know what we believe is to be true. So, and we know when we say this stuff to other people, man, and they're unaware, of course they're going to you know be frustrated. They're going to maybe raise their voice, or become argumentative. But since we know the truth of the matter, it's not for us to get mad. That's why it says one that's apt to teach. You have to understand that we're going out telling and teaching these folks that oppose themselves and don't even know it. So of course, if they oppose themselves, they're gonna be able to get to that level to where they're angry. But it's up to you to love them and not get bitter against them, right? Always be poised. And this is the last one I'll bring up, right? This is Isaiah 3 and 12, the classic. And this is usually the root cause of why our men, especially today, lack temperance, right? 3 and verse 12. This is why men today lack temperance. Isaiah 3 and 12. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err and destroy the way of thy paths. Right? Our paths have been destroyed because we let our children oppress us, right? And our women rule over us. And a lot of times they get to do both of these things through pure emotion, right? Our kids act up, start crying, start throwing tantrums. We give in to them, right? Society is getting into what they call gentle parenting, getting away from having them, you know, feel that correction, if I may, right? And women rule over them, man. A lot of, and man, we were just talking about this last weekend. Now that when we were out there teaching, man, and we reached out to a brother or sister that's walking by us, man, men don't even say nothing no more. The women got to say something. Nah, we're good, man. We're late to something. While the man got his hands in his pockets, his head's down, right? It's madness out here. Women tend to rule over men. Why? Because our women, especially Israelite women, tend to have strong personalities, man. Right? Um, Again, still emotional, but as a man, you got to be able to know how to deal with that, how to put them in the pecking order that the Most High has set up, and to be able to step into that role and understanding, a lot of time you be afraid that your girl gonna leave you, or you want to respect her because she been down for you, this, that, and the third. But there comes a time where you have to be that man in a relationship, right? If not, this is why we have men today that act off of emotion, because we were raised by our mothers mostly, right? And our mothers act off of emotion, right? I think Charleston White said this in a video. The only time that our mothers, when our mothers ever beat us, was when our mothers were mad and angry at us, right? And they might be shouting at you while they're beating you, right? Now, so a lot of times when you get whipped by your dad, sometimes he not even mad for real, right? He might be disappointed. He's not even mad for real. He kind of calm and collected, and he might walk back in, 2 hours later and be like, I really didn't want to do that, but you can't be doing this. You know what I'm saying? He might say, you want some cereal? You want some of this candy right here? We good, and that's the difference, right? Um, Being raised by, and that this is part of the curses, man. Some of us can't even help it. But it's important, even if you're a young man, to reach out to a father figure or a manly presence in your life, man, just so you can understand those things. And that if you're a single mom, man, I encourage you to find a godly man, one that that keeps the commandments, that can show your son a thing or two about what it is like becoming a man. Because contrary to popular belief, and it might sound harsh to you, it takes a man to raise a man, right? I know we live in a world where women try to do it all, but it really does take a man to raise a man, man. And this is why some of our men are in prison, man, because you say something wrong to them, they get emotional and they react instead of having that emotion and being able to do what? Be angry and sin not. Our people are lacking that ability because we are starting to act off of emotion, and because we're getting raised by our mothers that act off of emotion, right? Um, but as men, that's one thing that we need to focus on, in becoming a man. And part two is temperance, man. Be able to practice temperance, and understand that temptation is going to come, especially as a black man in America, right? Everybody trying you as a black man in America, your boss, the police, your woman, your children, your friends, right? But it's important to have that temperance, man. Uh, it's really going to show, who the real men are from the fake men, right? Um, and that's just a matter of the fact, right? And so it's been another think about it. Thursday, with all honor and glory, we give to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We do so by way of His Son, who the world innately calls Jesus Christ, who we see as an instrument of salvation for the nation. I'm Brother Donal. Remember, man, if you ain't gathering, you scattering, right? If you ain't gathering, you scattering. Study hard, and we'll see y'all next time. Shalom.